success, as you know, my acronym of racing is about recognize your dreams, act one corner at a time, care about yourself, inspire with which means inspire, empower, and go inside yourself and discover your power. And for never give up, and G for get it done. And today we will talk a lot about the N and the G, the never give up and the get it done in real estate. We have a guru here. His name is Lance Edwards. I met Lance about in 2010, so is a really a big follower of mine. I'm a big follower of his, and today he will teach us on how to make big money in small apartments. So stay tuned and let's welcome Lance Edwards. Hi, Lance. How are you?
Hi, Nadine. It's great to be here with you. And I got to tell you, this is my first Google Hangout, so you got to bear with me on the technology. But it's absolutely great to be here and be able to speak with you and your listeners.
Yeah, thank you. And I really like your setup. Big money everywhere. So subconsciously already you are talking about big money. So that's great.
That's right. That's right.
So Lance, talk to us a little bit about your background. How did you start in real estate? Just a quick snippet on that because you have a lot to say. And if people are want to have question at the end, we will reserve 5-10 minutes of question at the end for you to really answer that question. Is it okay with you?
Oh, it'd be fabulous. I love it. Yeah, as way a quick background on me. I back in 2002, I had a full-time corporate job. And I was looking for a backup plan, a way to get out of that, and I discovered real estate. And I took a different route than many people take. I got started in apartment buildings, particularly small apartment buildings. And thanks to small apartments, I was able to retire from my corporate job within 3 years. Left there and went out doing our apartments full-time back in 2005. And back in 2007, I started teaching people how to get started in this business, and we remain very active in real estate, and I love the training side of the business, and we do occasionally do deals with the students. The largest deal we've done to date, Nadine, with the students, $11 million deal that we wholesale apartment building.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. And but my passion, I love deal making, and I love empowering people about how to get started, break through the fears, and have the mindset to come to realize that there's no difference between doing houses versus apartments, and if you're going to start, why not start an apartment? So that's what we do.
Hey, I have a question for you because you said that you started to coach and teach your client in 2007, which was the beginning of the crash. So what is the biggest lesson and how those new clients or new investors in real estate kind of made it through that big crisis? Because people are so afraid about that big crisis, but I think when you teach the right strategy, there is a way to get through that, right?
Well, that's exactly right, Nadine. I mean, the people that got hurt in the Great Recession were people who were just paying too much for real estate and had lost track of the fundamentals. And everything we teach is very much predicated on fundamental cash flow on when you buy and hold real estate, and just sticking to the numbers. But also, like we talk about wholesaling, and you can wholesale these properties, put them under contract, and sell your contract. We have nothing tied up in it anyway, so you have no risk in the transaction, and you can do that anywhere in the country. But when it comes to buying and holding, what I'm teaching today, because there's some parts of the country that are starting to heat up again, including my backyard of Houston, and what we teach is just stick to the fundamentals, stick to the numbers. If you stick to the fundamentals and make sure you're only buying properties that will cash flow, so they're paying for them, and you're not having to pay for them, then you keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, and I really like about the stick with your numbers. When we met at Nouveau Riche in 2008, 2009, something like that. Actually, I am an actuary by trade, so all the classes that they were talking about the number on how to calculate your ROI, DSCR, and everything, that was the classes that I was loving the most because I was in my comfort zone with the number. But what do you think for your clients? Are the numbers one of their biggest fear or their biggest challenge, you think?
That's a great question. I think there's three fundamental fears I'll tell you right now that keep people out of the apartment business, and they're myths. They're not true. Let me readjust this headset. And Number one, a lot of people have this myth that they have to graduate from houses before they move into apartments. And that's just that's just a myth. I started in apartments. My students started in apartments. Another myth or fear that people have, Nadine, is, well, wait a minute, I don't have the personal financial resources to do these bigger deals. Well, you're not going to be using your own cash. You're not going to be using your own credit anyway. And even if you do have your own cash, you're going to run out of it if you're going to start buying a lot of deals. So you've got to learn how to, what I say, find deals and find dollars and bring them together. And so that's part of the mindset shift, the new belief system you have is the ability to raise money from other people. And then the third fear that keeps people out of this business is, hey, they say, I don't want to deal with tenants and toilets. Well, guess what? Neither do I. And so we hire management companies to do that for us. And I'd say, those are the three fears. And of those three, Nadine, where's the money going to come from is the biggest one that people have to learn, that it's not about your money, it's about your ability to find deals and find money and bring it together. And that's really the key part of the business.
And what would you say to the people in the industry, like newbies or veteran into the industry, about that saying that get rich quick? I have clients also myself, and people go into the real estate, they think they will make thousands of dollars in the first 3 months. That doesn't happen most of the time, and they quit, they give up. So what do you have to say to those people?
Well, I think you're spot on. There's no such thing as get rich quick that's legal, to my knowledge, and there's how to get rich right. And one of the strategies I teach in my book, by the way, how to make big money in small apartments, is one of my favorite strategies is this: flip one, flip one, flip one, hold one. You can flip apartment deals and generate chunks of cash to pay your bills today, but along the way you want to cherry pick the ones that you want to hang on to generate passive income. And so you start to accumulate a portfolio over a few short years to where within just a few short years you could be financially free because you have enough passive income or mailbox money coming in to cover your bills. But it's, I don't like these things about get rich quick. I just don't believe that exists. But it's get rich right, which is contrary to what we were taught in school, because we're taught in school, take 40 years working for someone else and save up your 401k and then hope you can retire, as opposed to, no, you could retire in a few short years as long as you're focused on acquiring passive income vehicles like apartment buildings.
Yeah, and usually it's retiring with a $4 watch, $40 watch. 40 years to get a $40 watch. So
that's right.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan, as you know, of entrepreneurship from A to Z. You need to learn from scratch. And when you met me, Lance, you are one of the first one who can have a testimonial about my French English was pretty hard to understand. And I remember I was in that first class when they were teaching about foreclosure. We had kind of a role play to play. I didn't know what the word foreclosure meant for 2 days. I was lost like crazy. So foreclosure actually in Canada barely didn't exist. Like lease option doesn't exist in Canada. The 1031 exchange and the IRA 401k, these were all new words for me when I was barely speaking English. And you are a little bit like me also. Because a lot of people, they are afraid to do business out of state. And as you said about the numbers, like me when I started in real estate, I bought 14 deals in 1.5 years, all out of state with 4 different teams and 3 different states. And a lot of people, they want to do real estate just in their backyard. Like here in California, forget it. The numbers are so not good. So right. You invest in different states, and sometimes you don't even see the houses either, right?
Well, yes. One of the advantages of apartments that attracted me early on was the fact that I'm not limited in my own backyard. That I could be investing in apartment buildings all over the country because it's going to be managed by management companies to begin with, and so many of my students are doing their very first deals out of their backyard. For example, I just interviewed one. In the last 2 weeks, he lives in Atlanta, and his very first apartment deal, he bought a 27-unit property in Indianapolis, and he bought it with none of his own cash. He got the seller to carry back 90% seller financing, and he raised the 10% from a private investor. but he's doing a 27-unit apartment building outside of his state. It's producing $3,400 a month cash flow because it's all based upon the numbers. And that's the thing really at the heart of it, what you were mentioning at the beginning, Nadine. What really attracts me into apartments and commercial is it's all based upon the numbers. I don't need to even look at these buildings to make offers. Matter of fact, we don't look at them until it's under contract. So we're just making offers, every day based upon these numbers. So you can be doing, back to your point, you can be doing these deals all across the country. You're not limited to your own backyard.
And do you have a kind of a step-by-step process? You said that you make the offer, and when your offer is accepted and all that, that's where you start your due diligence. So a lot of people, they start the other way around. They want to see the house, they want to visit the house, they want to inspect the house, and they don't even have an offer on the table, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And that's, people say, well, I need to look at it. No, you don't. And so let me shortcut of the process is, you speak to a seller, you make them an offer, which is a page-and-a-half letter proposal, and then you negotiate around that offer. Okay, now you get the basics of a deal structure. Then you go to a formal contract, which is 8, 10, 12-page document, and that defines how the deal is going to be done. And then when you sign that contract, it begins a period known as the due diligence period, where you have 45 days to go examine everything about this property. You get to check all the financials, check all the bank statements. You get to have an inspector check out the building. And at any point, if at any point during these 45 days that we find anything we don't like, including I don't like the color of the grass at 2 o'clock on Thursdays, we get out of the deal with no penalty. And so the whole point is to get a property under contract so we can begin a due diligence period to decide if this is really, what it said it was going to be. Is this really the deal we want to do? And so there's no point of going to looking at an apartment building until I have it under contract, because up until then it's all based upon the numbers anyway. And that's how we're able to get much leverage of our time, and how we literally are making multiple offers per day on properties around the country to figure out which ones we're going to get to a contract, and those are the ones we're going to focus on. And that's the real beauty of it. You don't need to be. This is not driving for dollars. This is making offers and then focusing on the ones you get under contract.
And the difference between the U.S. and Canada, because I actually bought my first duplex in Canada because I was afraid to do the U.S. investment, and I said, okay, let's start in my backyard. So I started like that too. But after the first one, I said, oh my God, like the numbers were not as great, and the people who are afraid to do the offer, because a lot of people, that's what they want to do. They want to drive by, but in the US, you have so many different websites that we can use. We do the comps, we can do the assessment, we can verify almost if there is a lien on it. Like there are many, many websites. What is the major tool that you are teaching your clients to use?
Well, that's a great question, because you're right. I mean, one of the great resources for finding properties is websites. There's many, many websites out there with properties for listing, apartments, all kind of commercial properties. You have to know how to separate the trash from the treasure as you're sorting through that. But you can find properties for sale on websites, and then it's a matter of running the numbers. And basically, we need to know the rents, the number of units, the occupancy, and from that basic information, we have a analysis that we perform on it based upon the math of the business, and we literally make offers based upon that math. And even now to the point where we automatically generate the offers because it's all simple math. And so, we start with websites, we talk to brokers, we're getting this deal flow coming in, we stick them into our software, do our analysis, and literally we can press a button now and it spits out the offer, gives them 3 options of how we're going to buy it. And then we send those offers out, see what comes back in terms of counter offers, and now we know who we're going to deal with. And that's basically the process. And sight unseen. I'm not going to look at the building until we have it under contract. There's no point to. Let me figure out who wants to sell under the terms we're proposing, and then focus on them.
And are you flying yourself for, let's say you buy a property in Ohio, are you flying yourself each time during the 45-day due diligence period, or you have teams in different states and you call your friend and say, hey, can you go look at that property for me? How do you work?
That's a great question. If you're doing a property out of state, if you're going to wholesale that property, meaning you have it under contract, I've got this piece of paper, I've got this contract, and I want to sell my contract or assign it to someone else, and they're going to buy the property, then no, I don't need to go see it. I'm just going to I'll let my new buyer, they can go do the due diligence, they can examine it, so I don't need to go see it then. But if on the other hand, if I or my student intends to hold on to that property, wherever it is, then during the due diligence period, here's what we do. We say, first of all, there's two types of due diligence. One is a financial, and second is a physical due diligence. Financial due diligence is let's collect all the records, let's get copies of bank statements, copies of all the leases, have that sent to me or sent to my student. Let's go through all that. When that passes, then we'll go to the physical inspection of actually hiring an inspector, and then we'll travel to the property, because there we want to interview some management companies, actually walk the property, do some mystery shopping to see what our competition's like, and put together a plan. And so only then and at that point, under those conditions, would we then justify making a trip. Now, you mentioned also if you have team members in place. I mentioned the student who lives in Atlanta who did the deal in Indianapolis. Well, one of the reasons he chose Indianapolis because he has some family members there, so he had a natural team in place, and they could do a lot of this for him to basically, extend his reach. So, either you or someone needs to lay his eyes on it when you're going to be buying it to hold. Otherwise, you don't need to see it.
And what is the major common thread from your students about their background in real estate? Are they from the beginners to the advanced, or who are really intrigued by your methodology, your system, and which kind of people you can help?
That's a great question. If you look at who some of our clients are, we have absolute beginners, newbies, who are starting in real estate, like I was, had never done a deal, and they get started in small apartments. And then we have those who maybe own a few rental houses that they've been self-managing, and they've decided they want to play bigger, and they come into the program. And if you look at their background, many of them are entrepreneurial, they're self-employed, or some of them are like me in corporate America, but we're trying to figure out how to escape corporate America. And that's, but mostly it's newbies to people who've been doing some rental houses.
Yes. And what is the time process from one person who really take a decision about doing a deal to the closing of their first apartment? Does it vary a lot, or it depends?
Well, it can vary. There's some factors we can't control, market factors, but generally, it's at the end of the day, it's all about marketing. We have to start the business with lead generating. I've got to get some deal flow. I got to find some, be talking to some sellers or some owners who'll be interested in selling, and that's where the whole business begins. We do a lot of things. Well, we really kill it with postcards these days. We get fabulous responses on postcards. We're doing it with the websites, as I mentioned. We call brokers using scripts who have properties for sale and get their referrals as well. So that's where it all begins, is on deal flow. And the whole business, I'm the one that's always saying this, and I know you believe this too, Nadine. We're not in the real estate business. We're in the marketing business, just like any business. And so the path at which you can get to a deal is a function of how much marketing you do up front. Now, having said all that, in all my programs now, I basically lay down what I call the 90-day challenge. Let's get you into your first deal within 90 days, because I found that if I can dangle an incentive, if I can dangle the carrot, it's human nature, that gives somebody a deadline and an incentive to get there. Their subconscious will help drive them there. And so we've got, some of my students I could rattle off. I've got a 28-year-old young fella. I was going to call him a kid because I'm an old guy, but a 28-year-old young fella did his first deal in 58 days in Baltimore. He made $125,000 equity. I've got a student here in Houston. He flipped a couple of properties in his first 90 days. He made One of them made 11,000. One he made 23,000. And I've got another student. Well, the one I just interviewed last 2 weeks in Atlanta, he did his deal within his first 90 days. Bought that 24-unit property. So, 90 days is a good time frame. I think it's a good target to set. But you got to do your part. You got to do the marketing and then make your offers. The whole business is about basically marketing and making offers. That's the business. It's all based on the math.
Yeah, and it's all about taking action, and I'm a big promoter of taking action. Like, go with the flow, but act one corner at a time. Be sure that you are doing whatever it takes. And the 90 days, me too, I like to challenge my students about the 90 days, because I discovered over the years, after coaching 850 clients in business, real estate, and personal development, if people don't take action in the first 90 days, it's because they are not committed a lot. If you are not committed enough, there is no way you can accomplish, because you will have reason all the time. Oh, I didn't have time, or I had a problem with my wife, or my kids are just starting school. You will have excuses every day of the week, every week of the year, all the time. What do you think about that?
Oh, I'm in, sister. I mean, I think, one of the things, and that's what I love about your teachings and your show, and why we're in some of the same programs together, is because I believe 70% of success in this business or any business is your mindset. And by mindset, I mean the ability to take action despite fear, the ability to take action even though I don't feel like taking action. And so all those things that you're mentioning, all the excuses that come up, all the reasons why I'm not doing it is just excuses. And so that 90-day focus, that 90-day challenge is important, because when I talk about, we have to create new habits for ourselves. And it's like, if I were to exercise this arm every day, it would create a new habit of that. So I've got to create new mental habits around this business. And so 90 days gives a focus to it. Then we break it down to there. Okay, what are the daily and weekly activities that must consistently happen in my business in order to generate cash flow? Because I've got to create those habits, or I've got to create what I call the rhythm of being in this rhythm of, this is what we do on a routine basis, because these are the activities that are going to put us into the deals. And that's just who we are. This is what we do. And that's part of a mindset shift. It's part of just creating habits. And the good news is it's all learnable. It's all learnable, and it takes coaching generally. Someone, I call it, accountability, and sometimes lovingly kick us in the fanny and keep us on track. But you're spot on, Nadine. I can talk hours on this topic.
Yeah, I know. We have a lot of things in common, and it's always fun to interview you and be around you, because you have a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and that's what it takes. If people don't have passion, if you don't have the biggest why, your why needs to be bigger than your challenges. And in real estate, trust me, you will have a lot of challenges. So if you are not willing to take the challenge, that will never work. So it's why you need to focus on your big why. Is it your family? Is it the quality of life, the lifestyle, traveling around the world? When this is really clear, and I really work a lot on that vision, that dreams with my clients in business or real estate, it's all about that big why. When you have that big why, now you can go to the day-to-day and the action and the 90-day challenge with clients and things like that. But again, your why needs to be bigger than your challenges.
Oh, I mean, yes, that's the first thing. When we teach people apartments, I teach them, no, let me tell you what you really need to do. You need to create your reason why. The first step is your reason why. It's exactly what you're saying, Nadine. What is that, that cause or that family member or that purpose that you will commit to, that you will never let down? Because I've observed that we, as human beings, we may not cross the street to help ourselves, but we will walk across hot coals to take care of someone we care about. And so you've got to have that reason why. That's the leverage on ourselves. And for me, I can tell you, when I got started, Nadine, my reason why back over a decade ago was my young daughter, who at the time was probably about 9 or 10 years old, and I, wanted to be able to be in a position that when she came time for her to go to college, that no matter what university she chose, no matter what the cost was, if she turned to me and said, Daddy, this is the one I want, I was going to be able to say, well, baby, this is the one you get. And that's what drove me. That's what led me into real estate, and that's what drove me through all the challenges that you're talking about, which, guess what? They happen every day. It's what drove me through those challenges to the point where just a few short years ago, I was able to fund her in one of the most expensive private universities in the country. But that reason why was so strong for me because there was no way that I was going to let her down. The idea of having to deny her what she wanted in terms of university, that the pain of possibly doing that was much stronger than any fear I had in front of me or addressing the challenges, because I had, there's no way I was going back. And so, we have to get very specific, very concrete with that reason why, because that, exactly like Nadine says, drives us through those challenges.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that story. That was really powerful. And for the last few minutes, Lance, it's all the time we've got, but we could talk for hours and hours. Of course, we need to do a real estate event together at one point. I think it would be pretty fun.
That would be.
So, how the people can reach you and talk about your book, your website, and your next events around the country?
All right, very good. What I'd like to do for everyone here on with Nadine is I do have a book. It's a best-selling book, How to Make Big Money in Small Apartments, and it talks about everything we've been talking about here, how to get the business started. It's basically everything that we teach, all the systems we use are taught in here, and I want to give you this book for free.
Wow!
It's my free gift to you, and you can go to this website. It's freeapartmentsbook.com, freeapartmentsbook.com, and go there and get my bestseller for free, and you can go on there. It explains basically how we run the business, everything we do, the numbers that I was talking about, shows the math, shows the marketing, and there's a lot of bonus resources in here as well, like doing with asset protection and everything we've involved in real estate. And I've been very blessed. Got some great reviews and #1 bestseller. So freeapartmentsbook.com.
Wow, thank you so much, Lance, and we'll post that also. We will continue to market that web TV show, of course, and we will put the link so people take action, take opportunity. It's giving us a book, and actually I don't have your book, so of course I will get it too. Be sure that you are taking action. And how the people can see you around the country now?
Well, we have workshops we conduct around the country. I'm going to be in Florida next week. We're all over the country. We have boot camps once a month. So if you'll go to dealsanddollarsclub.com, dealsanddollarsclub.com, you can see information about where our events are occurring. You subscribe to our weekly newsletter there, which keeps you updated on all the events and interviews with Nadine's featured in there. And great expert trainers and speakers, but dealsanddollarsclub.com, you can get track with us and learn how to plug in with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lance, for your good knowledge, good energy, and good passion, and like doing business with you in the future. I hope I will get back into real estate a little bit more. Now I'm speaking all over the world, so of course I speak a lot in real estate too. We just need to reconnect. You are in Memphis, right?
No, Houston.
No.
I'm in Houston.
Houston. Okay, cool. So for everybody, be sure that you are taking opportunity and action about what Lance is giving you. Good tools, good strategy, a free book. And if you want to reach me, my website is nadineracing.com. And I have also a website in real estate that is winningwithnadine.com. And be sure you are following Lance and I on our fan pages on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all that. Lance is really one of the experts in the industry, and not as much as a guru Getrichquick, which I love about Lance. It's about hard work. It's about going through the challenges, having an action plan, and having the right coaches and the right mentor. And I think Lance has really a good knowledge and wisdom for us. And actually, I'm working with a couple of clients right now. We are talking about apartments, so hopefully we'll be able to do something with you pretty soon, Lance.
Super.
A last word for the listeners?
Yes, I would say, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you, Nadine, for the opportunity to speak today. You're in great hands if you're following Nadine's teachings, and known of her, been following her for years. And my last word is, whatever you're going to do, whatever vehicle you're going to get started in, just take action. Create that reason why. Realize it's part of the mindset. You've got to make some new belief systems in order to change your life. And so start with creating that reason why, and find something that's going to compel you to make change and take action every day.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Lance, and talk to you pretty soon. And thanks for everybody to be on Racing to Success, a web TV show. See you soon.